back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Joey. We are a vegan, mostly whole food cooking channel. We do some product reviews. Sometimes there's some episodes with Tim. If you like what you hear so far, please hit that like button, show us some love, and think about subscribing and becoming part of the Plant-Based Dads family. Can you hear that fountain in there? I hope not. I can hear it as I'm talking. We do have a Patreon page set up. Our patrons are monthly financial supporters that help us get the show together and get the message, plant-based message out to the masses. If you've ever seen the show or if you're in the Facebook group and you thought, how can I help? How can I be part of this? That's how you can help. You can become a patron. We also offer a PayPal option if you want to just do a one-time donation. There'll be a link to Patreon and PayPal right below this video in the description. All right, so the February monthly challenge, the 21-day Starch challenge for February, is going to start tomorrow, today, for those of you who are watching the video. And I'm going to do something I absolutely hate doing. Those of you who've watched me for a while know I prepare all the videos, I overproduce them, there's a method to them. What I don't like doing is just recording myself cooking all day on a Sunday for food prep. But that's what I'm going to do. I've got a lot of stuff to make. I've got a whole list. Every Sunday I have a list of what I'm making. See if you can read that, right? My handwriting is horrible, right? My poor math students. And on this list, it has all of the ingredients I need to prepare to have food all week long for Tim and I and Lex. Some of this stuff is stuff I can't eat. It's going to be like Lex's mac and cheese. He gets the cashew cheese with macaroni. Some of it is stuff I will be eating. Tim and I will be eating, but it's family food all week long. With work and school for Lex and work for Tim and my work at home as a teacher, I'm constantly doing stuff at home. Like there's just not a lot of time to cook anything. So having this stuff ready to go on Sunday just helps me all week long. If you get to Wednesday without a plan, right, and you're holding the refrigerator door open at 5 p.m. going, what am I going to make today? It's not going to end well, and we will fail. So I try and prepare food on Sunday night so I'm ready all week so that doesn't happen. So follow along with me today. I hate doing this because whatever happens when I'm doing this, but I just want you to be with me today while I'm preparing food. Let's get started. Okay, I'm starting with Thanksgiving stuffing. And let me tell you why. Yes, I know it's January. So, Tim bakes a lot of bread, right? Well, he made a loaf of sourdough bread, and the bottom got overcooked. So it was a little hard, and Tim was like, well, we can't eat this. We'll toss it. And I'm like, we ain't tossing anything. Like, we can make breadcrumbs out of this. We can make stuffing out of this. And we were both like, stuffing. So I toasted the bread, and I threw it in the refrigerator. It's been sitting there for about a week. And I'm just going to make stuffing out of that bread. First thing I'm going to need to do is cut up some vegetables. I got a garbage bowl right here, just so I'm not running back and forth to the garbage. I'm going to pop that right there. And I'm going to cut up some carrots. I've got 4 carrots here. And I've got my mini Santoku knife. I absolutely love this thing from Dalstrong. There'll be a link below and all the Dalstrong knives that I use. Thanks again to Dalstrong for providing us with the knives. I absolutely love these. All right, so let's get started cutting up. It's stuffing, right? So I just want small pieces of my stuffing. I don't want it to be anything large. So I think I'm going to cut it up into little slices for now. And then I'll go back and, just kind of chop it up with the knife. And the vegetables are all going to kind of go in together when they start cooking. So I'm just going to put them all in one big bowl. There's no reason to keep them separate. So I've got my carrots right here. All right, that's 1 carrot down. Let's get the rest of them going. All right, so carrots done. That looks pretty good right there. Now I'm just going to take the celery and get that going. I've had the celery for a while. One of the reasons I'm making this stuffing is because I don't want to throw the celery out. So again, just kind of use, and the same thing with these green onions here. I've had them for a while, so I feel like I'm at the end of my useful period for those. But throwing them in something that I can use them all in with that bread, this was the perfect option. I'm going to chop it into small pieces. I already washed all this stuff, so it's ready to go. Now I do have a recipe video for this stuffing right here. You can click on that link when you're ready, and there's a whole episode just on this stuffing. We're done with the celery, done with the carrots. I'm just going to do the scallions here. It just calls for the recipe just calls for the stalks, so that's what I'm going to use. I'll chop these up another time and use them for garnish or for a topping. But for now, I'm just using the stalks here for the stuffing recipe. Alright, so now I've got my stems all kind of cut up here into, well, they're not cut up, but they're just kind of separated from the little bowl part and the ends. I'm just going to kind of use a knife and cut them into bite-sized pieces. Alright, and I'm just going to throw all this right in my bowl here. Alright, so now I've got my bowl of my veggies right here. I've also got some Better Than Bouillon broth. I'm just going to add a few tablespoons of broth to this, just to kind of get the veggies all wet and mixed up. I don't know, maybe a quarter of a cup, just to kind of get it kind of all wet. So I want the veggies to have some broth all over them so they're, you know, kind of sticky. Alright, so next I'm going to saute these veggies on a non-stick skillet. So let's jump to that. So I'm going to water saute these. So, well, not water saute, broth saute. I'm going to put a little bit of the broth in here to get the veggies sauteing. I don't use oil. It's not part of the starch solution. So that's out. So just a little bit of broth or water. That's all I need here. I'm using rosemary in the recipe today. I've got this rosemary right from the garden. It smells so good. Stuffing's going to be amazing. Alright, so I'm just going to wait for this to kind of steaming up a little bit, and then I'm going to pop in veggies. Alright, let's get this in here. We'll start sauteing the veggies. Just spread them around. You want to saute them for about 5 minutes once they start cooking, just till the onions and the carrots have softened up a little bit. And you can kind of see here that the veggies are doing their thing and they're cooking. I'm going to let this saute for about 5 minutes, just until the veggies are all soft. We're at about 5 minutes here, and I think I'm pretty much ready to call it cooked here. So I'm going to turn off the heat right here, give this a moment to cool down, and then I'm going to start combining my veggies here and the bread cubes. Alright, so next I've got a large bowl. I'm trying to use a glass bowl so you can see, because I don't have another camera on here, because I've already made this recipe before doing that. But I don't know if the glass bowl is going to be big enough, so we'll give it a shot. I just don't want to take out the big aluminum bowl, because then you won't be able to see it without a second camera on it. So I'm going to take my veggies here, I'm going to dump it right into this bowl right here. Let's hope for the best. Yeah, it should be good. Next I'm going to grab my bread here. I did toast this bread for about 45 minutes on 200 degrees. And it is ready to dump in here. It's been sitting in my fridge for about a week. Hopefully it's not too stale to use. It's definitely stale, that's for sure. Alright, I'm going to use my spatula here and just kind of, my spoonchula, and just kind of mix it all up here. I just want to get the bread and the veggies all mixed together, so the bread has some time to mingle with the veggies before I dump in all the broth. And I can already see, like, the bread is starting to soften now because it's absorbing some of the juices from the veggies. The reason you toast bread when you're making stuffing or you want stale bread is because stale bread or toasted bread, you know, bread that's harder, absorbs more liquid than just putting bread in that's not toasted. So, you know, that kind of gives you the texture that you want with the bread. Alright, I'm going to get these items here a little time to get to know each other and soften up a little bit. And then I'm going to take a second bowl here and I'm going to make the dressing for this whole thing. Now I'm going to start putting together my dressing. First, I need a tablespoon of miso. So I'm going to grab that and pop that right in here. Next, I'm going to put in about a half a tablespoon of fresh rosemary. Again, it's the rosemary from my garden, which just smells so amazing. Since this is real rosemary, I want to put less in because it's much more potent than the dried stuff. So my normal recipe calls for a tablespoon. I'm going to put about a half a tablespoon in, maybe even a little less, because it's really strong. Then I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. You can put a little more or less in here. Is it 2 tablespoons? Yeah, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. So I think I'm going to put like 1.5 tablespoons in. And then I'm going to put about a half a tablespoon of thyme, or whatever you have left. That's all the time I have today. Alright, and then I keep these bottles and I go to Sprouts, and Sprouts sells bulk spices. So you just take your bottle with you and you go there, you weigh your bottle and they, you know, write a number on it, and then you fill it up with your spice, and then you weigh it again and they write a number on it, and you just pay for the difference in weight. So I like to do that. No baggies, no packages, no new bottle. I just use the one I already had, right? So also a tablespoon of sage. I'm not going to put that much in because I felt like when I made this for Thanksgiving, it was too much sage. Pop that in right there. And then I've got about a whole heaping tablespoon of nutritional yeast. So I'm going to dump that nooch right in there. I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of black pepper here. I absolutely love black pepper, so you might want to put less in here. I don't know what's going on with this black pepper grinder, but like half of it went onto the counter here. I don't know what that's about. And now I'm going to pour the rest of the broth in. I had 2 cups originally of better than bouillon broth that I made. I used a little bit for the stir frying of the veggies, and I'm going to use the rest right here. All right, there we go. All right, I use this little baby whisk to make the broth, so I'm just going to use that to stir this all up. Obviously, I probably need a bigger whisk, especially with that big chunk of miso in there, but I don't want to dirty something else, and I've got this thing right here, so I'm just going to use this. All right, so now I've got my dressing made, so I'm just going to add this to the bowl with the bread and the veggies, and that's my dressing right there. I'm going to take my spatula here and just kind of mix it all together to give the bread every opportunity to absorb all of this dressing that we just made. So all that bread has to be coated. I've got about 8 cups of bread here, or that's what the recipe calls for. I've got whatever that loaf made, that Tim made, the sourdough loaf. And his sourdough loaf is just a sourdough starter, some flour, and some salt, and some water. I mean, that's it. There's nothing else in it. So totally starch solution compliant if you make it from scratch like we did. So I'm good with having this throughout the week as, you know, a lunch or whatever. All right, so next I'm going to grab a 13x9 casserole dish. I'm just going to dump this whole recipe right into the casserole dish. All right, I'm going to get this into a preheated oven of 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to let this cook for about 45 minutes. With stuffing, you do have to cover it so it doesn't burn. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's pop that in, and we'll check on it in a little bit. All right. Next, I'm going to make the starch solution fried rice. I have a video right here on how to make that. I'm going to throw this together, and that'll be a nice starch-based meal with a bunch of veggies in it all week long for us. I'm going to start with turning on my cooking top here, and I'm just going to put it on low medium. This is not a non-stick pan, but it's deep, and I need something deep to hold the veggies and the rice. If I put in my skillet, right, it's just going to come out the side. So that's what I'm doing here. I just got some broccoli from Costco, some carrots from Costco, some frozen peas, frozen corn, I'm going to throw that in there, and some peppers from the garden. All right, so it's already starting to steam. This convection cooktop works really fast. I'm going to start with the carrots in here because the carrots take longer to cook because they're harder. So I'm going to cook these for a little bit just to get them sauteed and nice and soft. Alright, that's steaming really nicely. I'm also going to eventually throw in about a teaspoon of this diced garlic I have, but I don't want to put it in just yet because the garlic will cook much faster than the carrots and it'll burn. Next I want to get in this garlic, get it to cook. Okay, I did not need that much garlic. I was only supposed to put in a tablespoon. Alright, so I'm going to let that garlic do its thing and saute for about 3 minutes here. It's a lot more garlic than I wanted to put in. I crushed a bunch of garlic for a few recipes, and I threw like almost all of it in one shot. Alright, so now I'm going to throw in the rest of the veggies here. I've got like a whole bag of Costco, those little bags of Costco veggies. So I'm going to throw those in, the broccoli, and then I'm going to throw in some frozen peas. I think I'll just add those at the end, the peas and the corn, because it doesn't take, well, the corn I'll throw in now, but I think the peas I'll add at the end. Put the corn in there now. And again, I want to keep that wet in there because I don't want it to burn, because this is not a non-stick pan, but I needed to use this pan because it was deep enough for me to cook this in. And I've also got, in the garden's producing some beautiful peppers, right? These marbleized peppers. So I've cut up one and I'm going to toss that in there too. I'm using about 6 cups of veggies total. Okay, so the veggies should be nice and steamed. I'm gonna go ahead and put the rice in now. I've got 4 cups of overnight rice. This is rice that we cooked yesterday. It needs to be cold. So I'm gonna pop that in there and get that all mixed up. You can use white rice, you can use brown rice, it doesn't really matter. Either way is fine. And I'm gonna put in some soy sauce. It's about a tablespoon. I'm just gonna just keep moving this around so it doesn't stick to the bottom, because again, I'm not using a non-stick pan. But the rice looks good with all those vegetables mixed in. Looks really nice. I'm also gonna take my frozen peas now and kind of toss them in also. It's about, I don't know, half a cup. You can't have too many frozen peas. You can see here that looks really nice. Everything's kind of mixed up. It's got some great color to it. All right, I'm gonna shut the heat off here. Everything's done and combined and cooked. It looks really good. It's exactly what we needed. So this will make a great meal for the Starch Challenge. It'll be great lunches this week. Now I just gotta get this into something I can store it in for the week, and I'll be all done with this. Next, we're gonna work on our Instapot refried beans. I make this in every video that I do food prep in, but this is what my kid eats every week. Throughout the week, he gets bean and cheese burritos. Bean burritos right here, I make and eat the cashew cheese. That's what he eats for everything. He loves it. So I'll be making those. But in the meantime, the stuffing's ready to come out of the oven, so let me grab that. All right, I'm gonna grab a fork right here and see how this came out. Oh, wow. Holiday stuffing. Oh yeah. Man, brings back memories of the holidays all over again. That's gonna be great all week. So Tim can take that if he wants, or Lexx can have some of that. I just didn't want to waste all those vegetables that were starting to go, and I didn't want to waste that bread. So perfect solution. All right, I'm gonna bring this over to cool off over by the oven, and I'm gonna start on the beans here. All right, let's talk about the refried beans. My Instapot vegan refried beans are really good. It's an all whole foods recipe. Here's the thing about beans. So I don't know if you can see this. I've got the dog food container right here. I've never had dog food in this. I washed it out as soon as I bought it from wherever I bought it from, brand new. But this is where I store my pinto beans. And you can just kind of see here, you know, it's like half full. So I get my pinto beans at Costco. It's 25 pounds, a 25-pound bag, and like 13 bucks. It's not that much money. And that makes, you know, pinto beans grow to be almost 3 times their size. That makes about 75 pounds of beans. For 13 bucks, pinto beans cost cents to make. They're one of the cheapest things that you can make. This recipe with, you know, an onion and some garlic and these beans and spices, it costs almost nothing to make. So this is something we make every week because my son loves it. Sometimes I'll just have a bean and cheese bowl. I'll have this with potato cheese on it or whatever. Sometimes I'll eat the cashew cheese if that's what we have. But there's always refried beans in my house, always. And the price of beans is one of the reasons why. So I have 3 of these dog food containers. I have one with pinto beans, one with stone ground wheat flour for Tim, and then one with chickpeas. Same thing with chickpeas. Costco sells a 25-pound bag of chickpeas for like 10 bucks or 13 bucks or whatever it is. Same thing. We're always making those too. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is get our veggies sauteing. So I've got some garlic in here, about 5 or 6 cloves of garlic. And then I've got some onions here, Tim cut. So I'm gonna pop those in here and we're gonna start sauteing. So I'm just gonna hit saute on the Instapot here. And then I'll put a little water in here because again, I'm water sauteing, I don't use oil. I'm gonna let that do its thing here. As soon as that starts steaming, I'm gonna dump in my aromatics and get them cooking. You can see this, but there's some steam coming out of here. So it's ready for our vegetables. So I'm gonna throw in our aromatics here, which is about an onion right here, maybe a little more. And I've got about 4 to 6 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna pop those in there. And then I'm gonna use my spatula here just to kind of mix that up. And I'm gonna give this time to heat up and do its thing. I'm also gonna throw in a can of Hatch chilies. I think it's like a 4-ounce can. This is green Hatch chilies. These are from Trader Joe's. Mix that up. They're already cooked, so I didn't throw them in with the onions right away because I don't want it to burn since, you know, they're pre-cooked. But the onions only have a few more minutes left, so now's a good time. All right, so the onions and garlic are nice and soft, so I'm going to throw in the spices. got a teaspoon of chili powder. This is a half teaspoon measure, so I'm just going to put 2 of these in. I've got a teaspoon of cumin, so I'll just put 2 of these in. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't have enough spice. And then I'm putting 2 teaspoons of salt, so it's 4 of these. You can leave the salt out, but it definitely changes the taste of it. And we're not trying to avoid salt here, so I'm not really too worried about it. But if salt is an issue, then just leave it out. I'm going to move those around to activate the spices to get the heat all working on that. And you can kind of just smell it now, like the heat and the spices. It smells really good. All right, next I've got 1 pound of dried pinot beans. I've got these from Costco. Like I said, I did wash them, which is why they're in the strainer. I rinse them. I rinse everything. Like, I don't eat anything unless it's clean. So that's going in right here. And I've got 6 cups of water. Beans in the Instant Pot are always a pound of dry beans, 6 cups of water. That's how it always is. There you go. All right. So let's just move this around here and give it a nice stir. We can shut the Instant Pot off right now. All right, at this point, we can turn the Instant Pot on. So I'm going to put the cover on, get this ready. I'm going to lock it in place to sealing position. So cover's on, valve's in sealing position, and I'm going to set this thing for 35 minutes. And that's it. In 35 minutes, we're going to have pinot beans. I will use an immersion blender to blend them all up to give that refried texture, but they'll be ready to go. So let's give that some time to do its thing and see what's next. All right, so one of the things I make for Lexx every week, I have to prepare my food and Tim's food, but I got to prepare his food also, because I ain't got time to cook for him either. So he likes mac and cheese. He absolutely loves it. I've got this cashew-based powdered cheese that I keep in the pantry, and I just keep it in a jar. And when he's ready for mac and cheese, it's like opening up a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese, right? Where you throw the pasta and you boil it, and then you throw in the cheese sauce and you mix it all up. So that's what this is. And this is the Chef Mayakos' recipe, the well-crafted mac and cheese, because I watched this on a video once. She wanted to call it Kraft, like C-R-A-F-T mac and cheese, and her lawyer said no. So she called it well-crafted mac and cheese, which I think is a great name. Lexx absolutely loves this stuff. He's grown up on it. This is what he knows of mac and cheese. And it's just one of those things where, you know, in the time it takes to boil the pasta, he's got mac and cheese. And it's unprocessed, and, you know, it's vegan. So this is one of the winners at our house. So for those of you who are doing the Starch solution and you have kids, this is kind of a nice option for them. The first thing we're going to add is a cup of cashews. Now, my cashews, I get these from Costco, all right? You can see them right here, all right? This cashews, this little bin of cashews looks identical to the one I can't buy. This one just says organic whole cashews. This does not have oil in it. The only ingredient in this, when you look at the back, is organic cashews. They make one that looks just like this, same size, everything's the same, it's a little different color. That one is coated with oil. So, you know, this is the one you want to buy right here, not the one with the oil. I'm going to put a cup of these in here. So we're going to put this right into the food processor. And this is made in the food processor, not the Vitamix. All right? So 1 cup of raw cashews, not coated in oil. Thank you. All right, after that, I'm going to put my reading glasses on here. So let's switch to those for a minute. All right, after that, we've got 3/4 of a cup of nutritional yeast. I hear people all the time, they're like, what brand of nutritional yeast do you get? What brand? Listen, I get whatever's in the bulk bin of Sprouts. I don't know what brand this is, but that's what I get. I don't really get involved in, you know, what flavor of nutrition. I mean, I'm not bougie. You know what I mean? Whatever's cheap, that's what I'm getting. So that's what I got here. And I'm putting in 3/4 of a cup right into my food processor. And that's it. And you know, nutritional yeast is not cheap, right? It's like $13 a pound. But I mean, it weighs so little, right? So you get a lot for 13 bucks. But I just have it in this glass container, and you know, it's with all my bulk storage. Next, Chef Mayakos' recipe calls for 1/4 cup of oat flour. The last thing I need to keep in my cupboard is another package of flour. I've got probably 30 flours in there because we make bread. I don't need another package. So I just use the rolled oats. and I throw them in this little Vitamix attachment right here. Throw it on the blender, and then I just grind it up when I need oat flour, and that's it. So this is a 1/4 cup of oat flour, but this is just rolled oats, all Vitamixed up, all right? Next, I need a 1/4 cup of tapioca flour. Now, tapioca starch, tapioca flour, they're the same thing. So whichever one you get, that's fine. So I've got the end of this bag right here. I should be able to make a 1/4 cup out of it. Otherwise, I got another whole new bag that's ready to go. I always have a backup of everything, which is why I don't want another flour, because I've got 2 of everything already. So if I don't have to have a third, if I don't have to have an oat flour, that's amazing. All right, so I've got a 1/4 cup of tapioca flour or tapioca starch going in right here. All right, so next is my spices. I need a tablespoon of paprika. So I'm gonna take that, I suppose I can get this in here. No, this is a 1/2 tablespoon measurement, so I'm gonna use 2 of these. And I know it sounds like a lot of paprika, but really, it works out nicely. The flavor of this is really good. So it's not smoked paprika, it's just paprika. Then I've got 1 tablespoon of organic sugar. I just took some out of the bin. Again, we buy it in bulk, right in here. Now we're gonna be adding 2 teaspoons of powdered mustard. This bottle's brand new, it must be, because I can't get the cap off. Yep, it is. All right, 2 teaspoons of powdered mustard. This is just powdered mustard seed. It's 1. All right, I like a little extra in here. All right, 2 teaspoons of powdered mustard. Next, we're using 2 teaspoons of sea salt. We use Himalayan salt, so that's what we're doing. So 1, 2, and then 2 teaspoons of onion powder. So I'm gonna grab this and dump some of that in there. I like to use heaping teaspoons of onion powder, because to me that's where the flavor is. So if you have a look right in here, you can see that all the powders are in, they're ready to blend up. All right, so next we're just gonna put the top on the food processor here. And this needs to be processed until there's no chunks in it. And this is a food processor, not the Vitamix. And those are raw cashews. So it's not, and they're not soaked or anything, because all of this has to stay dry, right? Otherwise it'll clump together. So we're gonna need to process this for about 3 to 4 minutes. It really has to be like fine. So don't be afraid to just let it run. Let's get started. All right, I think that's good enough. So let me take this out of here. It's a nice fine powder now. And I'm just gonna store this in one of these mason jars. And I've got this like mason jar funnel here, the big mouth on it. And I'm gonna pull this off of here and just kind of get this all into this funnel here carefully. Yep, it's nice and fine. This is exactly what we want right here. All right. All right, so there we have it. That's our mac and cheese powder, just like the store-bought stuff right in the box, except it's whole food plant-based. So what do you do with this, right? I know I briefly talked about it earlier, but how do you make this? It's just powder. So here's what you do. In a medium sauce pot on medium heat, you're gonna add 1 cup of your favorite plant milk. We use oat milk because it's very low in fat. You're gonna heat that till it starts simmering, just to the point where it's about to boil. Now you can add your powder. We're using 1/3 of a cup of our well-crafted cheese mix. We're gonna pop that in there, and I'm just gonna keep stirring this until it's all dissolved. And I'm gonna keep stirring it and keep an eye on it until it thickens up and becomes sort of a nice, saucy, thick roux. Once that's starting to happen, you can see here that it's thickening up. We're ready to add the pasta. Now I'm just gonna add some already cooked pasta. I just made this. I've drained it, and now I'm dumping it in here. And then I'm just gonna mix it all in so it's all combined. There you have it, a beautiful pot of well-crafted, whole food plant-based mac and cheese. Thank you, Chef Mayakos. She's amazing. Okay, so the well-crafted mac and cheese, that's in the cabinet in that glass jar. The Instant Pot refried beans are still doing their thing. Another thing I have to have all week is potatoes. Even though I made that rice dish is probably gonna make it till Tuesday, if it gets that far, because we're gonna eat that. We gotta have potatoes ready to go. Otherwise, failure. So I've got a bunch of different potatoes here. They're all just white golden potatoes, and you can see it's a bag. They're different sizes. That one is bigger than the other ones. Then you've kind of got these like 5 over here that are about the same size. And you've got these like 6 to 8 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're about the same size. And then you got these two baby ones over here that are about the same size. What I'm gonna do is put them in the air fryer, and after 10 minutes, I'm gonna take these baby ones out. After about 15 minutes, I'm gonna take the next ones up. After about 18 minutes, I'm gonna take the second biggest ones. And after about 20 minutes, I'll check on that big one. They're not all gonna cook at the same speed because they're different sized potatoes. The one thing I am gonna need to do here is poke them all with the fork, all right? So let me get started with that. I've already got the air fryer preheating. It's 410 degrees. So as soon as that starts beeping, I'm gonna throw this whole tray in there. There's nothing to it. It's just air fryer, 410 degrees, starting at about 10 minutes up to like 20 minutes per potato. So let's get these in there and get them cooking. All right, so the Instant Pot's done with the beans. I'm just gonna release the pressure here. I always put a rag over that so it doesn't spray the water on the ceiling or whatever. All right, after like 5 minutes, it's finally ready to open up. There's a little pin that drops back into the cover that tells you that the steam is gone and you can open this up safely. So that's what I'm gonna do. I like the beans whole. I eat them with rice, I eat them in burritos. I don't really want them refried. Lexx will not eat them if they're whole. He has to have them refried. So I'm going to take half of these beans out of here and put them in a bowl here for myself and for Tim with as much of the juice as I can get. And then the rest of it, I'm going to use an immersion blender and blend them up. All right, so that's about half there. Yes. Now, there's a lot of liquid in here, so I'm going to try and get out as much of the liquid as I can for me, because I need to get that liquid out of here if I'm going to blend it all up. All right, so now I'm going to get as much of that liquid out as I can for Lexx, and then start blending these up. I'll just put the liquid in here for now. You need all that liquid for the beans to cook, but if you're going to do refried beans where you're blending them up, then that liquid will just be too much. It'll make the beans runny, and you don't want that. So, all right, I think we've got as much of the liquid out as we can get. So I'm going to dump this out. I know that's aquafaba, but we don't really need it. And here's what we have here. Just some beans and onions that are ready to be blended up to make refried beans. So that's what we're going to work on here. All right, so I've got my stick blender right here, an immersion blender. I'm just going to stick this in here and blend these up. Alright, so I think we're where we want to be with this. So if you look right in here, you can see here it just looks like refried beans. Like it's all blended up. Just that whole look that refried beans has. And I like that the way it is. I like it if I'm making a burrito, but if I'm just having it on rice, I like the beans to be whole. So that's why I keep some separate. But this will be perfect for Lexx. This is exactly the way he likes it. I'm going to grab this pot here and see if I can just get the beans out and into this glass container right here. And that actually gave him quite a bit. Now they're going to be runny right now. And then as they sit in the refrigerator overnight, they'll get very thick. As far as storage, I keep as much water as I can, or as much of the aquafaba as I can, with the whole beans, because that's the flavor right there. That whole cooking liquid. So I let it sit there and absorb as much of it as it can before we actually use it. But you can see here we've got two different types of beans ready to use. We've got our whole pinto beans right here with onions, and then we've got our refried beans right here, ready for burritos. Now, whatever the family wants, it's ready. I'm gonna put these in the fridge and move on to the next thing. Okay, so now that the potatoes are done cooking, I've just put them in a bowl, and I'm just gonna leave them, they're hot. I'm just gonna leave them in the bowl just like this in the refrigerator, and I'll eat them throughout the week. Here's what I do with them. I take a container for lunch, and I chop them into 4 pieces and fill the container with it, and then I'll pour a little cheese sauce over it, or just a little bit of salt and barbecue sauce or whatever, and that's what I'm having for lunch. And I'll do that all week. So those are ready to go. They're cooked. I can smell them. They smell delicious. And because I air fried them and I didn't cut them up before I eat them, they're going to be nice and creamy inside. So potatoes done.
Now what are you cooking?
All right, so here's what we're going to do next. So Tim wanted chili because the menu wasn't already long enough. So we're gonna make our Instant Pot chili, a 3-bean chili, which is really good, right?
It's really good.
It's really simple. We're just gonna saute some veggies and throw a bunch of stuff in from cans and just heat it cook it in the Instant Pot, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be ready to go.
Okay.
All right, let's get this going. I'm gonna get my Instant Pot set to saute over here. And we have a video right here on how to make this, so check that out. It's one of those what I eat in a day videos. Yeah. But I'm just gonna make it again here, and I don't have the second camera on. I'll just kind of tell you what I'm doing. You can check it out in that video there. Again, as always, we're water sauteing the aromatics, so just a little bit of water in here. We're not using oil. And we'll let that come up to steam, and I'll throw in my garlic and my onions. All right, so the steam's coming out, so the Instant Pot is hot, ready to saute. I'm gonna put like 1 onion. We did a bunch of them here, but about a cup of yellow onion, or one whole yellow onion that we've diced up. And we're gonna have to throw in some garlic also. I've got like 6 cloves of garlic just diced up. We also have some red peppers out of our garden, which we used earlier in the rice. I'm gonna use it here also. Let's pop those in.
Who knew? If you didn't pick it fast enough, they turn red. So that's why they're red, not green.
They're supposed to, I guess they're supposed to be green, and we didn't pick them fast enough. We saw them turning red. They were kind of marbleized, right? So I don't know if maybe they're supposed to be red or marbleized or whatever. Anyway, we love the color of the red one, so that's what we're having here. And it's nice to have it right out of the garden, so that's really awesome. All right, I'm just gonna saute these for, I don't know, 5 minutes, just till the onions get soft and translucent. You can see here the onions have softened and they're kind of translucent. They're ready to go. So I think we're good with the sauteing. So I'm gonna shut the Instant Pot off right here. And the rest of it, we can start throwing in all the ingredients, and then we'll do the pressure cooking. All right, so now it's time to throw in our beans and all the rest of the ingredients. So the first thing we're putting in is our beans. So here's what I have. Since they're all going in together, I just threw them all into one strainer and strained them all at once. I've got 2 15-ounce cans of black beans drained and rinsed. I've got 1 15-ounce cans of kidney beans drained and rinsed. And I've got 1 15-ounce can of pinto beans drained and rinsed. Now I'm gonna toss them right in here. That's everything that's getting drained and rinsed, so I did those together. Next, I'm gonna put in like a 4-ounce can of hatch chilies. I'm gonna dump those in there. Right. And that's with the juices and everything. And then we're also going to put 2 15-ounce cans of diced tomatoes with the juices. They're not getting drained or rinsed, so they weren't in that strainer. All right, so that's in there. All right, we've also got some broth going in. So we've got 1/2 cup of broth. I'm just using Better Than Bouillon, the oil-free vegetable one. So I'm going to put that in here. All right, so spices going in. I've got 2 teaspoons of chili powder. Of course, the teaspoon won't fit into the jar, which just frustrates me, but that's 1 teaspoon. And 2 teaspoons, a little more. I love me some chili powder. All right, after that, we're putting in 2 teaspoons of cumin. So let's get that going here. Oh, that one will fit in there. That's nice. All right. 2 teaspoons of cumin, we're good there. 2 teaspoons of vegan Worcestershire sauce, however you say that. Sorry, people in Massachusetts. All right, 2 teaspoons of this. I don't even know how long this has been in our fridge. All right, 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. And I believe that's it. We've got our broth, the onion, the garlic, the jalapeno, the chili powder, the cumin, the Worcestershire sauce, the beans, all the different beans, and the hatch chilies. Yep. Okay, so at this point, everything's in. We're not gonna mix this up. There's something about, it's never happened to me, but to some of the other people where they mix this up, and the tomatoes, because of the heaviness, they sink to the bottom, and the Instant Pot displays the burn message. I've never gotten the burn message on this Instant Pot as long as I've owned it, so it's never happened to me. But I'm just gonna make it this way because this is the way I've been doing it ever since people have been complaining about that. So I'm gonna put the cover on here. I'm gonna lock it in place, set it to sealing position, and I'm gonna cook this on manual pressure for 10 minutes. So we'll let it cook for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna do a natural release, right?
Yep.
All right, so that's doing its thing. We can kind of set that aside and move on. All right, so what are we doing next?
Okay, next, we have some spears I've cut up, both green and yellow squash here, zucchini. If it's not already moist, I just ran underneath the water a little bit. You can use vegetable stock if you want. And I just wanted this moistened up. And then I'm gonna add some granulated garlic, And I'm just doing this to kind of coat it a little bit. So if you only have 2 zucchinis, you're going to use a lot less. So I hesitate to give a measurement right now. Okay, so we've taken care of the garlic. You can see it's well coated. Now we just want to do some little bit of salt and pepper.
Yeah,
okay?
just a little bit, yeah.
So when I crack it here, I'm going to toss it, mix it, and then I'll do another crack over so it all gets coated. Yeah. Same thing with the salt.
We'll just do a little sprinkle in there.
Should I do this salt-based style?
Yeah. Alright, I guess that's how they do it in Minnesota. Alright.
Okay.
And we're going to air fry this, right?
We are.
Yeah.
So again, this will be just like an accent taste.
A lot of times we just cook the starches on the weekends, and I'll cook the vegetable, the non-starchy vegetable, that night, because it doesn't really take long to cook stuff like that. A lot of times we just heat up broccoli, seriously, right? And that's what we have, so.
But we're also more successful when this is ready to go.
Yeah.
So can I use a dipping sauce like a marinara? Absolutely. Or just as it is on the side?
Yeah.
So there's a few things you can do with this once it's cooked and you reuse it during the week. So.
Okay, so what are we doing with this?
I'm going to put it in the air fryer.
Okay.
And cook them up a little bit. We're going to do this probably 14 minutes. If you've got less than this, 7 minutes, again, dependent on the type of air fryer you have. We have a Breville pan style. It's going to be different than a more compact one. So
this looks,
make that adjustment.
This looks really good. I mean, it all looks nicely coated, and you can see here that it's ready to kind of go in the air fryer, and it looks like it's going to be really nice.
Yeah, we've got some marinara to dip it in as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice.
All right, as soon as the air fryer tray is done baking the sweet potatoes that Tim threw in there, we will put this in there, we'll show you going in, and we'll be ready to go.
All right, I got my grill gloves on.
All right, so you're grilling?
We are ready
All right, so
for this to go in the air fryer.
So this is ready. Ooh, it's still hot because we just took out sweet potatoes. Yeah, so you can kind of see here, they're all just kind of laid out. Okay. All right, so 400 degrees?
Yep.
400 degrees, 14 minutes.
All right, so this segment I kind of wanted to show a little bit about the bread making we do. Today we've got a loaf style, and then I'm going to show sourdough bread with some raisins and cinnamon in it. But I just wanted to show the process of cooking at the same time, and the pots that we would use in the Y. So let me grab.
All right. I have no idea what's going on. All right, so these pots are heated in the oven to 500 degrees. So the pots are really hot.
Blazing hot. I'm going to quick line with parchment paper so that it just lifts off. Okay. So I made a cinnamon loaf with some raisins, oil-free raisins. That is ready to go. Let me get the lid. These are kind of messy, so when I turn them upside down, there's some rice flour in the bottom.
And what's that one?
This is sourdough bread, but I did it in a elongated style, so it's like a loaf.
All right, so what's happening now?
Well, there's some bread pans that need condensation, so you put a little ice inside.
Oh.
This is a different style. In this style, the condensation is going to begin with the contrast of the heat and ice.
So these pots are made with these little like valleys on top to hold this stuff?
Exactly, to drip. Yeah.
When Tim's running around with this bread stuff, I just stay out of the way. Otherwise I'll get run over. So that just goes in the oven with the ice on the top like that?
Yes, I'm going to heat up to about 500 again. Okay. We're setting a timer for 15 minutes.
All right.
Then at that time, I take the lid off. And then we cook it for another 15 minutes with the lids off.
Okay.
And then I might do 5 minutes more, just depending on the color. But that's why we bake our bread, so we can determine the color. So
we need to set a timer for 15 minutes.
That's right. We'll be right back. While I have the oven ready, we have a 15-year-old. He eats quite a bit more and things that are differently than us. So I've got some pizza dough going on, and we use the vegan cheese for him. Of course, that has oil in it. They're not for us, but
so what Tim is saying is that we're prepping pizzas, and we do this every week. We prep like 4 pizzas for Lexx, vegan pizzas.
Yep.
And so when we need to eat something, he doesn't always eat, but we eat, and we've got. You saw me make the mac and cheese powder, right? You saw me make the beans for his bean and cheese burritos. So this is just another option. Some ready to toaster oven pizzas,
Yep.
right, ready for him to go.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm already baking. I just do this all in one shot. So then it's not as much as you think it is, or doing 3 different things. So
Well, allows us to just reheat stuff during the week and we're ready to go.
yep. All right. So we've got chili going on the slow release. So I thought I would point out a few things.
All right, so yeah, so the chilies, we're just waiting for this to drop the pin. So let me just ask you, because you just ran through with that bread thing and it was really fast.
Okay.
So the oven was set to 500.
The oven was set to 500.
All right, so you preheated the oven with the pots in the oven.
Correct.
Right, that's kind of your bread routine. And then when you take the pots out, they're red hot, and then that dough goes in the red hot pot.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. And then you've got those pots are made with that water reservoir on top, or that place to hold the ice, right?
Again, for condensation.
Right.
And it's steam that makes that bread rise.
Okay.
So that's the factor. Like a commercial oven has a steamer in it that sprays out water for steam.
Okay, so then it'll cook 15 minutes like that, then you'll take the cover off. By then, it's all evaporated, or no?
Yes, that water on top usually is evaporated.
Right.
And at that time when I take the lid off, then I'll score it
Right.
so that it releases a little bit more.
All right.
And then we'll take it out when we have the brownness that we want.
Okay.
So exciting. Okay, we're waiting for slow release on the Instapot.
Yes.
I thought I would bring out, because, well, you're going to soon have to start getting your lesson plan ready for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we've kind of already done a lot.
Yes.
But I thought I'd show some shortcuts that we do on a weekly basis. I thought I would show these carrots. I love these multicolored carrots. They're great as a side with oil-free hummus.
So these are just Trader Joe's carrots.
It is.
That's it.
Already, so I just have to wash them. Or they're great for putting in salads, right, when we're ready. That's really quick. I also like going with them the organic radishes from Trader Joe's. These are a nice crunch, something we don't always get in our dishes that we bake, right? So good diversity there. And then the oil-free hummus, I just wanted to show you what that looks like. We could make our own easily, but then I could just buy this before it goes bad. This afternoon, I made some pico because I noticed you were making some refried beans.
Yeah, we have our pico recipe right here in our cowboy caviar video.
Yep.
This is just a smaller little. So of course I told Tim I was filming everything we're making today. And before I set the cameras up, you made something. So we don't have that film, but yes, Tim makes his own pico.
We have this little spinner.
Yeah.
I put the jalapeno in there. I put the onions, the lime juice, everything in there, and you just pull. I also wanted to show, this is what I take usually daily, a couple spoonfuls, and that's beets. So good for you. They already have this in a vinaigrette at Trader Joe's, and this seems to work for us. I like this. I just wanted you guys to think about that or be aware. Couple other ideas. I know we're big into making bread, but sometimes I really love like pumpernickel. It's this solid, dark grain bread. Anyway, they sell like a half a loaf for $1. This is made oil-free as well, just to put it on your radar.
Where'd you get that from?
Trader Sprouts, actually, from a bakery.
Okay. All right.
And then at Trader Joe's, they have this crisp bread. Grains crisp bread, no oil added, but there are some seeds in this, but again, a half a cracker in with your meal, just that diversity of flavor.
Sometimes with soup I like crackers, so. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just wanted to suggest a couple of these things because I hear it so many times, like, what do you eat if you're cooking with not oil?
Yeah.
And I think we've just shown so much.
Yeah, and it's a good idea because there are people in the group who will argue with me that McDougall has a list of foods you can eat out, and he does. He tells you a list of things when he wrote that program so many years ago.
Yeah.
And there always are going to be things you can eat when you're not cooking at home. So those are good examples of it. So I'm glad we're able to show.
What we eat in a day. This is great to bring these up because this is where the rubber meets the road. I mean, this is us living. I wanted to show you what the sweet potatoes look like if you're not familiar with this. This skin comes right off so easily. And I think you can see the caramelization in there. So if you're new to this...
The air fried sweet potatoes are always amazing. Yeah, when you air fry sweet potatoes, they air fry with the skin on it and it comes right off.
It's a little bit lower glycemic. I kind of like it. So it works great for me during the week.
Right, so, speaking of food, guess what's done? The chili is
I can
complete.
smell it.
Let me grab a spoon. You want to grab a spoon right away?
Yeah, sure.
That's fine. All right. Oh, yeah, looks good. Now, just leave it open, and most of that wet liquid that's done will just kind of absorb in there. But yeah, this is a hearty bean chili. I mean, you can see right here how thick that is. There's a lot going on here, right? It looks really good.
Okay, I just heard the alarm for the air fryer.
So what's the zucchini? Well, everything's kind of happening at once here.
Yes.
All right, let's put this aside, and let's get your zucchini boats out. Oh, those look nicely done. Yeah, holy smoke. All right, so let's give one of these a try. They're good.
With the garlic on it?
Yeah, very nice.
Nice.
Wow.
Still, with the option of dipping it in some tomato sauce. Anyway, a variety of things. I'm going to put this in a glass storage container for us to use later today. Okay, I just heard the alarm go off for the bread. It's been 15 minutes. So
Everything's happening at once.
Stay back there.
Yeah, I only cook one thing at a time.
But with this razor blade now, I'm going to score the bread so it can release a little bit more. So I just lowered the temperature to 425 on the oven. We've set another timer for 15 minutes. After that, we'll check for color for what we like.
All right.
Okay.
Good. All right, so let's figure out what to do with this chili. So we're gonna have to store this. Do we have a container to put this in? All right, let's ladle out this chili, and we can see if we can get it. I think we can just dump the whole thing in with the.
I got the hot gloves on.
Yeah, let's do that. See how far we can get. It'll all go in. Yeah. All right. Woo. Hang on. What I want to do is shout out to Evan Barnes, one of my 6th grade students. He watches the show. His mom and dad watch the show.
Isn't he a troublemaker?
No, he is not a troublemaker.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
He's a good boy.
Okay.
We're good, right?
Seal it up.
All right. Seal it. Well, we got to let it cool off for a little bit. But you can see here that the chili's ready to go. It's cooked. It's beautiful. It's still steaming hot. And it's going to make great meals all week long, right?
Yes. It is going to make for a successful week.
Right.
So thank you very much. I know it was a lot today.
That's right, and that's one of my favorite meals to make because it's completely whole food, plant-based. There's no fat in it or anything other than what naturally occurs in like the beans,
And
right?
some flavor.
And there's a lot of flavor, and it's all vegan. Like when I bring this to work for these potlucks, the meat eaters are like, "This is delicious." I'm like, "You don't need meat for chili. Like chili really is all about the beans, right?"
And you've got the variety in there. Okay. Well, we've done the best we can showing so much, right?
So this is why I don't like doing these videos. Like, we're now down to this little spot right here because every place else in this kitchen is trashed, right? From the food that we made. Now someone's got to clean this because I got work to do.
Is there help coming?
Yeah, it just showed up, right? All right, that's our video for today. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that bell so you get notified every time we have a new video, usually every Monday. And leave a comment below. What are you making for the Starch Solution Challenge meal prep? I showed you some of the things we're making this week. We'll continue to make other stuff. I'll take this with me to school work with a lot of fruit, right? With water and a lot of fruit. And this will be what I eat all week long, right?
Yeah, me too.
All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.